They say your wedding day is supposed to be the happiest day of your life. What they don't tell you is that sometimes the pain starts long before the vows. And in my case, it started with a dress I never got to wear. But before I tell you how my fiancé replaced me with my sister a week before our wedding, I need you to do one thing. Backhand index pointing right subscribe if you love real-life stories of karma, betrayal, and the ultimate revenge. This one will leave your jaw on the floor. Now, let's rewind. 10 months ago, I was just Allison, 29, engaged, and floating somewhere between Pinterest boards and catering invoices. Nathan and I had been together for almost 4 years.
He was steady.
Not the most romantic man alive, but reliable. The kind of guy who double-checked locks and ironed his shirts like he was prepping for a military inspection. And when he proposed, simple, down on one knee in our living room with a ring that made me gasp, I didn't even hesitate. I said yes. And then I got to work. Wedding planning became my full-time obsession. The venue? A rustic vineyard I'd found during a random weekend trip. The dress? Custom designed by a boutique in Charleston. Layers of tulle, lace, and just a hint of sparkle. The color scheme? Dusty blue and eucalyptus green, like something out of a bridal magazine. I poured myself into every detail. Not because I wanted a perfect day, but because I wanted our story to feel intentional. Earned. Nathan wasn't very involved, said he trusted me to handle everything. I took that as a compliment. It wasn't. Looking back, the signs were there. He'd come home later than usual. Claimed he was stressed from work. Stopped asking how things were going with the florist or the menu tasting. But I brushed it off. He was busy. Weddings were stressful. I gave him grace, because that's what you do when you love someone, even when they stop giving you the same in return. Then came the rehearsal dinner. It was supposed to be the final celebration before the big day. My parents flew in early. My friends, even the ones who couldn't afford it, showed up in heels and rented suits. And my little sister Sabrina? She arrived glowing. Literally glowing. Hair perfectly curled, lips tinted berry red, heels I knew she couldn't walk in, but wore anyway. She hugged me and whispered, "You're going to be the most beautiful bride." Funny thing about that? She already knew I wouldn't be. Nathan barely looked at me that night. He spent most of the dinner whispering to Sabrina. Once, I even saw her hand resting on his knee under the table. I told myself I imagined it, that the stress was getting to me. I smiled through the toasts, the clinking glasses, the speeches about forever. But when Nathan left early, claiming he had a migraine, something in my stomach twisted. I texted him, "Everything okay?" No reply. The next morning he was gone. No note. No call. No explanation. Just a voicemail hours later. "Allison, I can't do this.
I'm so sorry.
You deserve more than I can give you right now." That's it. 10 months of planning. For years of love. Gone in 37 seconds. I collapsed onto my kitchen floor. Dress hanging in the closet. Venue booked. Guests arriving. My heart in pieces and no idea why. Until 3 days later, when the truth came out. My sister posted a photo. One of those soft focus, golden hour engagement shots. Captioned, "When love finds you in the most unexpected places." Ring. My stomach dropped. I clicked. There they were. Nathan. And Sabrina.
Smiling.
Arms wrapped around each other. She was wearing my ring. Not a similar one. Not a replica. My ring. The one Nathan and I picked out together. The one he placed on my finger when he promised forever. The one I took off after his voicemail, sobbing in the bathroom with mascara streaking down my cheeks. I stared at the photo for what felt like an hour. Then I did the only thing I could think of. I called her. No answer. Just a text. "Allison, please don't freak out.
We didn't plan it this way.
It just happened."
It just
happened. 10 months of planning. Thousands of dollars. Every ounce of love I had just happened to fall into my sister's lap?
No.
This didn't just happen. This was betrayal. Calculated. Cowardly. And cruel. And they thought I'd just let it go. That I'd vanish quietly. But they forgot who they were dealing with. I didn't plan this wedding for nothing. And if they wanted to use my venue, my ring, my timeline, then they were going to get the full Allison experience, starting with one unforgettable crash of their perfect little ceremony. I didn't cry. Not after seeing the post. Not after the ring reveal. Not even when I realized my own sister would be walking down the same aisle I was supposed to. Instead, I cleaned. There's something grounding about scrubbing dishes when your life is falling apart. As if by wiping down the counter, I could erase the fingerprints of betrayal. But while my hands were busy, my mind was racing. They were using everything. The vineyard, the vendors, the same guest list. My blueprint for the most meaningful day of my life had become a convenience for theirs. They didn't even bother to change the date. That was my breaking point. The morning after their announcement, I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey, Allison, it's Jen from Blooming Petals. Just wanted to confirm that the peony bouquet is still on for this Saturday. Also, sorry again about the confusion. Wasn't sure if you were still part of the planning." Still part of the planning? I clenched my jaw. These people, my sister, my ex-fiancé, had told no one the truth. Everyone still assumed I was involved. Some probably assumed I approved, but I didn't.
And I wouldn't.
I texted back. "It's still on. I'll be handling the final touches, personally." That was when I decided. If they wanted to hijack my wedding, they'd get more than they bargained for. Not just the venue. Not just the playlist. They'd get a front row seat to the fallout. I started making calls. First to Casey, my best friend and maid of honor. "Tell me you didn't delete the speech you were going to give," I asked. Silence on the other end. "Wait, you're not thinking of..." "Oh, I absolutely am." She laughed, then said, "I'm in." Next, I called Terrence, our original videographer. A brilliant, slightly chaotic genius who always joked about turning weddings into short films. "You still want exclusive footage of the big day?" I asked. "Whose wedding?" "Nathan's."
Pause.
"Wait, what?" "Trust me, you'll want this on camera." My third call was the boldest. I contacted the DJ, someone Nathan had originally insisted on hiring, even though I had a different one in mind. "Hey, it's Allison. Quick question. Would you be open to playing a short, surprise track during the reception?" He hesitated. "This isn't about some cheesy flash mob, is it?" I smirked. "Oh, it's so much better than that." See, what my sister didn't know was that Nathan had cheated before. Not just with her. 2 years ago, I found texts from a woman saved under the name Kevin Work. She lived in Phoenix. He swore it meant nothing, that they never met in person, that it was just stupid flirting. I forgave him, because I was in love. And like so many women before me, I thought love was reason enough. But I'd kept the screenshots. And not just from her, there were others, including one woman who messaged me after I got engaged to say, "You seem like a good person. I hope you know what kind of man you're marrying." At the time, I deleted it. I wanted to move forward.
Now
I wanted receipts. By Thursday, I had a digital folder labeled Wedding Day Playlist. It didn't contain music. It contained screenshots, audio messages, DMs from Nathan's many conquests, and, the crown jewel, a screen recording of a voice note where he accidentally mentioned sleeping with Sabrina before breaking things off. Dated 3 weeks before the voicemail that ended our engagement. I scheduled it to play during the reception, right after the toasts. The DJ would cue it under the guise of a romantic surprise from the groom to the bride. It would start with a photo montage of their engagement shoot, and end with everything else. Friday night came, and I drove past the venue. It was glowing, wrapped in fairy lights I had personally approved. Chairs arranged in the exact semicircle I chose. They'd even kept the signature cocktail I invented, blood orange spritz with rosemary. Sabrina didn't even like blood orange. I parked across the street and stared at the building for a long time. For a moment, I questioned it all. Was I being petty? Full? Would it make me look unhinged? But then I remembered. I hadn't invited myself to this story. They dragged me into it. They wrote my name into every lie. They used my ideas, my vision, and my heart. So I figured it was only fair they got a piece of my mind in return. That night, I went home, curled up in the wedding robe I never wore, and slept better than I had in weeks. Because tomorrow, I wasn't just going to show up. I was going to take back the narrative. Not with a tantrum. Not with screaming. But with precision. With elegance. And with the truth. The morning of the wedding, I got dressed slowly. Not in the dress I was supposed to wear. That was still hanging in my closet like a ghost. Instead, I wore a deep emerald jumpsuit, tailored to perfection, with gold accessories and a bold red lip. I didn't want to look like a scorned ex. I wanted to look like a reckoning. I wasn't crashing anything. I had every right to be there. I still had vendor contracts in my name. My signature was on the floral invoice. The DJ's payment had come from my account. They wanted to steal my day? Then they were going to see what happened when you hand the blueprint to the architect you betrayed. When I arrived at the vineyard, guests were already seated under the pergola, sipping on welcome drinks and fanning themselves in the late spring heat. I slipped in unnoticed. Except by one person, Casey. She stood near the front in a navy satin gown, eyes wide as she spotted me. "You actually did it," she mouthed. I smiled.
Calm.
Controlled. Let them underestimate me. The ceremony started moments later. Soft music. Sabrina appeared at the end of the aisle in my dress. Yes, my dress, slightly altered, but unmistakably mine. It hurt.
God, it stung.
But I didn't flinch. Nathan stood there in his gray suit, nervously fiddling with his cufflinks, oblivious to what was coming. They said their vows. His voice cracked. Hers shook. To anyone else, it probably looked like emotion. To me, it looked like guilt. After the ceremony, the guests were ushered into the reception hall. String lights twinkled above. My eucalyptus and dusty blue decor filled the space. It was perfect. Painfully, poetically perfect. As dinner began, I waited in the back with Terrence, the videographer. He had his camera ready, pointed at the sweetheart table. "You sure you want this on film?" he asked. "Absolutely," I said. I wanted proof. Not just for me. For everyone who had ever been lied to and made to feel crazy. For anyone who's ever been betrayed and told to be the bigger person. Sometimes the bigger person is the one who tells the truth, loud enough for the liars to choke on it. The toasts began. Sabrina's best friend gave a sweet, vanilla speech about fate and finding love in unexpected places. Casey was up next. She winked at me before taking the mic. "Most of you know I was originally going to be the maid of honor," she started. "Things changed.
People changed.
But truth? It doesn't change. And today, I want to toast to truth, and to the woman who made this wedding what it is." She looked straight at me. To Allison.
Gasps.
Whispered confusion. Sabrina's face went white. Nathan's jaw tightened. And then, the DJ gave me a nod. "Here we go." The lights dimmed slightly. The screen behind the DJ booth flickered to life. A soft instrumental began to play, a romantic montage of Sabrina and Nathan's engagement photos.
Guests awed.
Some clapped. But then, at minute 112, the screen glitched. And the music stopped. A new clip began. Nathan's voice, a voice memo I had saved for almost a year. "I just don't know how to tell her, man. She's good, you know? Allison's solid. But Sabrina's different. It's complicated." The room froze. More clips followed. Texts. Screenshots. His messages to other women. "She's so caught up in wedding crap, she doesn't even notice I'm barely around. Can't wait for this fake rehearsal dinner to be over. I'll sneak out and crash at yours." And finally, the worst one. A video clip from his own phone, bragging drunkenly to a friend. "She thinks I'm still working late." Meanwhile, Sabrina's already trying on her dress. The screen went black. Silence. Then murmurs.
Gasps.
Someone dropped a glass. Sabrina stood, stunned. Her lipstick smeared from nervously biting her lip. Nathan jumped up, stormed toward the DJ booth. "What the hell is this?" I stepped forward. The crowd parted like water. "Hi, Nathan," I said.
Calm. Clear.
My voice echoing across the hall. "You forgot to include me in your guest list. But you didn't mind using all my work." So, I thought I'd make myself useful. Someone in the back clapped. Others followed. Casey smiled, tears in her eyes. Nathan looked like he wanted to crawl under a table. Sabrina whispered something to him, but he just shook his head. Cowards crumble when exposed. I didn't stay for dessert. I walked out with my head high, shoulders back. I didn't need closure. That was my closure. Let them pick up the pieces. Let them spin whatever story they needed to survive. I had already reclaimed mine. And for the first time in weeks, I felt free. By the time I got home that night, my phone was blowing up. Casey had posted a short clip of the reception, just the ending, where Nathan shouted, and I calmly walked away. She captioned it, "When the wedding planner and the ex-fiancé are the same person, and the bride is her sister." It had over 300,000 views in less than 5 hours. And then it hit TikTok. A wedding guest had filmed the entire reveal from her table and uploaded it with a caption. This girl planned her wedding for 10 months. Her fiancé dumped her for her sister. She exposed them during their stolen ceremony. Watch till the end. By the next morning, it had 2.3 million views. And I hadn't said a single word yet. I wasn't trying to go viral. Honestly, all I wanted was closure. A chance to say, this happened. It hurt, but I didn't stay silent. But social media? Social media was hungry. People started stitching the video.
Commenting. Digging.
It didn't take long before someone found Sabrina's engagement post. Then her account. Then Nathan's LinkedIn. Thousands of people flooded their profiles. She wore the sister's ring? This is some Shakespeare-level betrayal. The way she walked out like a CEO, iconic. If you're reading this, Allison, we stan. I was being called everything from a wedding warrior to a revenge queen. It was surreal. But for Sabrina and Nathan, it was a nightmare. 3 days after the video blew up, Sabrina's account went private. Nathan's company removed him from their website. Someone had emailed the clip to his HR department. Another person started a Reddit thread. Guy cheats on his fiancée with her sister. They steal the wedding. She exposes them mid-reception. Let's unpack. It hit the front page. And suddenly, I was being asked to do interviews. Podcasts. YouTube channels. Even a morning talk show reached out. But I didn't want to be famous for my pain. So I made one video. Just one. I sat down in front of my window. No makeup, soft lighting.
Hi.
I'm Allison. I began. Yes, that wedding story going around is about me. I told the truth.
Calmly.
Without spite. I don't hate them. But I won't excuse them either. What they did was cruel. And what I did was claim my space. I ended with, you don't have to let betrayal make you bitter. But you don't have to let it silence you either. The video reached 4.8 million views in a week. People began messaging me, not just to praise, but to confide. I thought I was crazy when my ex ghosted before our wedding. My sister did something similar and no one believed me. Your strength gave me the courage to walk away. It was healing, but it also made me realize just how many of us suffer quietly. How many people think forgiveness means pretending we weren't wounded. I had no interest in vengeance. I wasn't trying to ruin them. I just refused to disappear. But not everyone took it that way. Sabrina finally broke her silence on day 11. She posted a statement on Instagram with the comments turned off. It read, I never wanted things to happen this way. I love my sister and Nathan. I didn't plan to hurt anyone. Please respect our privacy as we try to move forward. It was as empty as it was tone deaf. But it confirmed one thing for me. She still didn't understand. This wasn't just about things happening. It was about choices.
Lies.
Manipulation. Nathan followed with a note of his own. We all make mistakes. Some bigger than others. I hope in time, people can forgive and focus on love. Translation? I got caught, but please don't be mean to me. Sorry, Nathan. That's not how this works. In the weeks that followed, I watched from a distance as their lives unraveled. Vendors started sharing stories anonymously online. One florist revealed how rude Sabrina had been during the final meeting and how awkward it was when she insisted on keeping my exact bouquet design. Even the officiant, someone I'd chosen from a nonprofit, publicly apologized for being caught in the middle of a situation that lacked integrity. It was like a slow collapse of their perfectly curated fairy tale. And I didn't have to lift a finger. That's the thing about truth. Once it's out, it spreads like wildfire. People begged for an update. Did they stay together? Are they still engaged? Did you ever speak to them again? The short answer?
No.
And I didn't need to. Because this story wasn't about them anymore.
It was about me.
About reclaiming my voice. My agency. My worth. I wasn't the girl in the tulle dress waiting to be loved. I was the woman in the emerald jumpsuit, burning the lie to the ground, and building something better from the ashes. There's a weird emptiness that follows viral fame. You go from constant messages, comments, and pings to silence. Not because people stop caring, but because they move on. There's always another scandal, another betrayal, another video. But I was still here. Still unpacking boxes I never meant to unpack alone. Still getting mail addressed to the future Mrs. Harper. Still catching my breath in random aisles at the grocery store when a song from our first dance came on. Healing isn't linear. And it's definitely not fast. But then came the letter. It arrived on a Thursday afternoon. No return address. Just my name, handwritten in all caps, across a cream envelope. Inside was a single page. Nathan's handwriting. I know I don't deserve a response. I'm not asking for one. I almost threw it away right there. But I kept reading. I'm not with Sabrina anymore. We imploded 2 weeks after the wedding. She said I ruined her life. Maybe I did. Maybe we ruined each other. My stomach twisted.
He went on.
Watching you walk out that day, I saw someone I never deserved. You handled everything with more grace than I could have mustered in a lifetime. I hope someday you'll forgive me. Not for me.
For you.
Because I know what it's like to carry weight that doesn't belong to you. I'm sorry, Allison. For everything. No signature. No return address. Just a letter that felt 3 years too late. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because closure doesn't always mean confrontation. Sometimes it's reading a letter and feeling nothing. No rage. No tears. Just peace. It was the first time I realized I wasn't in pain anymore. I was just done. I took the letter, folded it neatly, and slipped it into a small wooden box where I kept old things. My grandmother's brooch, concert tickets from college, a photo booth strip from a trip with Casey. It didn't belong on display, but it belonged somewhere. Because no matter how much we move on, we carry pieces of our past. And this was the piece I needed to finally stop bleeding. A few weeks later, Casey dragged me to an art exhibit downtown. Consider it exposure therapy, she joked. Public spaces. Strangers. Emotional stimulation. No exes. I laughed, but I was nervous. Being recognized wasn't my goal, but it still happened sometimes. Mostly women. Some cried. Some hugged me. One whispered, "You saved me from marrying my Nathan." At the exhibit, I kept my head low, sipping champagne and pretending to be very fascinated by abstract brushstrokes. That's when someone bumped my arm. "I'm so sorry, I didn't see," he paused.
Wait.
"Are you?" I braced for it. But then he smiled, soft and sincere. "You're the woman in the green jumpsuit." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "The wedding video. You walked out like a queen while they imploded. My sister made me watch it. Twice." I laughed.
Couldn't help it.
He extended a hand. "I'm Jordan." That was badass, by the way. We ended up talking for over an hour. He was kind.
Quiet.
A graphic designer with terrible taste in wine and excellent taste in music. We didn't exchange numbers that night. But we did 2 weeks later, when he found me again at a different art event. From there, things moved slowly. Intentionally. No games. No weird silences. No trauma dumping disguised as flirting. Just genuine connection. He never made me feel like I had to perform strength. He just met me where I was. Sometimes we talked about the wedding. Sometimes we didn't. He never asked for the viral version of me. He just liked me. 6 months after the not wedding, I stood at the edge of the same vineyard. They'd reached out, offered me a free evening for a private celebration, no strings attached. I declined at first, but then I thought, why not? So there I was. No white dress, no crowd. Just me, Casey, a few friends, and Jordan. We toasted under the string lights I once chose for someone else. And I gave a short speech. Sometimes, the people who break you don't deserve to witness your healing. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't heal anyway. Closure isn't a moment. It's a decision. And tonight, I've decided I'm free. They cheered.
We laughed.
I didn't plan to become a symbol, but that's what people started calling me. Symbol of strength. The wedding warrior. Proof that dignity doesn't mean silence. I was invited to speak on podcasts about betrayal. I even got an email from a book agent asking if I'd ever considered turning my story into a memoir. But the truth is, going viral doesn't fix anything. It doesn't rewind the pain. It doesn't return the months you spent planning a future that got handed to someone else. And it sure as hell doesn't make heartbreak glamorous. It just means more people are watching while you figure things out. Still, I won't lie, the attention gave me a strange kind of clarity. For the first time, I saw how many people had lived through their own versions of what I went through. Women and men from all over the world poured into my DMs. Some were funny. Girl, you should teach a masterclass in classy revenge. Others broke my heart. I planned a wedding for a man who left me a week before for my cousin. My sister and fiancé cheated while I was in the hospital. You gave me the courage to walk away from a 10-year lie. And then one that stuck with me. I'm not the villain in my story. I just finally stopped letting other people write it. That one hit home. Because for so long, I had let other people dictate my story. Nathan made choices. Sabrina made excuses. And I kept shrinking to accommodate their comfort. Not anymore. Now, when people asked what happened, I didn't flinch. I said it plainly. I was engaged. He cheated with my sister. They used the wedding I planned. I exposed them. And I moved on.
There was no shame in that.
Just power. Eventually, the buzz faded like all viral things do. The hashtags stopped trending. The Reddit threads cooled. A new scandal took my place. But I didn't miss the attention. Because I had something better.
Peace.
And a strange, beautiful kind of pride. Not because of the drama, but because I survived it without becoming someone I hated. One afternoon, I got an email with the subject line, "From Pain to Power, a story worth telling." It was from a documentary producer. They wanted to feature my experience in a series about women reclaiming their narratives. Not just the scandal, but the quiet strength that followed. At first, I hesitated. Would this reopen old wounds? Would it pull me back into something I'd finally closed? But then I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who thought love meant sacrificing your voice. The one who kept forgiving because she didn't want to seem dramatic. And I said yes, because that girl deserved to be heard. Filming took 2 days. The crew set up in my tiny apartment, the same one I moved into after I left Nathan. I wore a soft white sweater, minimal makeup, just me. We talked about everything. The betrayal. The silence. The moment I decided I wouldn't be quiet anymore. I cried once, when I talked about the dress. Seeing Sabrina walk down the aisle in something I picked out, imagining her smiling at the man who once promised me forever. But I also laughed. Especially when I described walking out of that reception in slow motion while Nathan stammered behind me. The director said, "You didn't just walk away. You owned your ending." And for the first time, I believed it. The documentary aired months later. It didn't go viral, but it didn't need to, because it reached exactly who it needed to reach. A week after it aired, I got a message from a teenager in Sweden. "My dad cheated on my mom with her sister. I thought it was my fault. Then I watched your story. I finally told my mom what I knew."
She cried.
But she hugged me. "Thank you." I sat with that message for a long time. That's when I realized this wasn't just my story anymore. It belonged to anyone who had ever been lied to, gaslit, replaced, silenced. It was proof that even the messiest endings can become beginnings. And yes, in case you're wondering, Jordan and I are still together. We're not rushing anything. No rings. No labels we don't mean. Just honesty. Laughter. Healing in motion. He knows the whole story, every painful detail. And still, he looks at me like I'm not broken. Just rebuilt. Sometimes I walk by bridal shops just for fun. I smile at the dresses in the window. Not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because I know now, the wedding I planned was never wasted. It revealed the truth. It lit the fuse. It brought me back to myself. And that's a love story worth telling. And under those same lights, I danced.